All right, we got new evidence tonight. Robert Mueller's team was riddled with conflicts of interest. Watch.
You and James Comey have been good friends, or were good friends for many years, correct?
We were friends.
Top DOJ official Bruce Orr, whose own wife worked on Fusion GPS, top FBI investigator, and his lover, another top FBI official, constantly texted about how much they hated Trump and wanted to stop him from being elected. Our side's not going to be directing any questions to Mr. Zebley, and we have concerns about his prior representation of the Hillary Clinton campaign aide.
All right, joining me right now, former federal prosecutor Doug Burns and former FBI special agent John Iannarelli. Good to see both you guys. Sure. John, like, does nobody care about, you know, the appearance of conflict of interest anymore? Can't you get conflicted out of things as a lawyer?
Well, I think things have changed so much in Washington. I think with Director Comey 2 years ago going on and talking about the Hillary Clinton and how we have all this evidence, but we're not going to prosecute, I think it's changed the tenor of things now where people can just work for whoever and nobody cares anymore, and that we're going to disregard the conflict of interest or just a general appearance of a bias.
You know, Doug, my dad was a lawyer, a small town trial lawyer. Yeah. And he was a big believer in, you know, the process, and everybody's entitled to defense and innocent until proven guilty. And he might say, well, you know, as long as you're a good lawyer doing your job, like your personal bias isn't gonna creep in. But in Washington, especially these days, I wonder, is it totally?
Well, you used the key word, appearance. That's the key. Everybody gets confused. So they say, you can't automatically say that this person actually is biased. That's true. But if it appears that there's a bias, and there have been legitimate arguments all throughout this investigation that the composition of this team, you know, seemed fairly overtly political. And so the reality is, it actually is, I have to call it the way I see it, it's been a legitimate complaint, starting from Andrew Weissman all the way down the pecking order. And again, I'm not sitting here, just to be clear, saying, you know, they definitely had a bias which caused them to take prosecutorial steps that they might not otherwise have. It's possible, by the way, but I am definitely saying that there are appearances of impropriety because of all these back and forth relationships.
Between,
exactly.
You know,
yes.
Lisa and
no
name?
question about
Peter
Strzok and Lisa Page.
But I mean, they duo. But
but they sent emails and texts that were blatantly anti-presidential.
Let me ask about this guy, the one that was seated, John, next to Mueller today. Why do you think he had him there, and him of all people, who had defended the aide to Hillary Clinton when he got rid of her server? He wiped her server clean.
Well, I think they needed somebody there, because when you look at what came out of the Mueller hearings today, the one person that had the most to learn from the Mueller hearings appeared to be Bob Mueller, because he wasn't familiar with a lot of what's going on. It looks as if this other person...
What was that about?
Well, clearly Bob Mueller wasn't deeply involved in it. He's a very respected man. Certainly he saved the FBI at 9/11, very well may have saved our country. But when it comes to this actual report, it's the persons on the committee that put it together, much of which had a lot of bias. I think the other gentleman's there to answer the real questions, or at least let Bob Mueller know what's in the report that needs to be answered.
Isn't that a little crazy? I mean, Doug, you're using him, what, as a figurehead? You know, just he's your puppet on a string, that he's supposed to look like he's in charge of this thing, because he's got, you know, a respected reputation, but he's not really running it? People
throw around some cynical terms, you know, security blanket, crutch, etc. I'm not going there. But the reality is, I'm a trial lawyer. I've been watching witnesses for 34 years in court, and sad to say, and I'm serious about the sad part, because my colleague is right about Mueller, Director Mueller's reputation, but he came across very, very poorly today. He didn't seem to know the content of his own report. He seemed very confused and befuddled, and I was shocked. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even know what Fusion GPS is. Hey, John, he didn't even know who Corey Lewandowski is, or was, the man who was running the campaign for Donald Trump at the time in question. I mean, it's like he's been living in a bubble and didn't watch any cable news for a couple of years or read a paper.
You know, we're dealing with the Democrats. They have a history of using people and not caring how these people are going to look at the end of the day, as long as they accomplish the mission that they're seeking to accomplish. Here, Bob Mueller, a very respected individual, it was not one of his better days, unfortunately, and I think he was used by the Democrats.
Wow, that's pretty sad. I mean, it gets back to what I've been saying all along. It's a sad, sad thing for our country. That we're left now in a position where people don't trust the foundations of our democracy, and we're so divided. And I guess Vladimir Putin's got exactly what he wants. Doug, John, good to see you. Thank you so much.